Too hot for TV.
Welcome back to the Doctor Who Too Hot for TV Advent Calendar, and I'm back again to talk about another dip into the annual stories of Doctor Who, and today I'm joined by none other than Mr. John Dorney. John, how are you?
Hello, happy Christmas. I'm pretty good, actually. So
happy Christmas to you too. Now, Christmas time.
Yes.
Annuals were a big thing in my house. We got an annual every year, be it Doctor Who or something else. Did annuals play any part in your childhood?
You know what? I feel less than I might have expected. Certainly in terms of the ones I remember and the ones I've sort of got around, they're things like sort of Bugs Bunny ones and slightly cartoony ones. I don't really recall ever getting the Doctor Who ones, which seems sort of baffling with hindsight, because I would get other Doctor Who stuff. I remember, like, I was given that 20th anniversary special magazine one Christmas in Australia, of all places, because I'm half Australian. But the actual annuals, I don't think I ever really ended up with. So I'm not entirely sure how that happened.
Right. And did you at any point pick them up in later life, or is it just something that's never played a part in Doctor Who world?
I think I've picked up one or two. I think I've got, weirdly, like a couple of Pertwee ones, like I've found in secondhand bookshops or something like that, or the odd Oxfam or something along those lines. But it's never quite appealed, really. I think my sense of the content was there was nothing really that leapt out at me as being particularly exciting. I remember looking at these things and thinking that the story seemed, to my child eyes, too long. It just felt like they were all really long, and it's been so sort of baffling reading one today, because genuinely I kind of looked and went, oh, this does look like it goes on a bit, and then I read it in about 5 minutes. So I don't quite know the logic of any of that, or how I managed to find myself looking at this and go, these stories seem so long. I go, I'll just buy a Target novelization instead. How's that work?
I think because they're so text heavy, because the text is obviously cheaper than the illustrations, I guess, in the world of world distributors. I felt a bit like that as a kid, that they were sort of unpenetrable and too wordy. But again, I would read Target novelizations, but I guess from a big book, I guess by that point, things like Doctor Who: A Celebration had been out and stuff. And so what I wanted from a big book was loads and loads of pictures, even if I wasn't going to read the text.
Yeah, that might be the case. I mean, maybe it is like, is it more words on the actual page? I don't know. Who can be bothered to do the count, really? So,
So today we're going to look at The Radio Waves, which came out in the 1986 annual, which was released in August of 1985.
Yeah, because I was going to ask precisely when it was out, because that was presumably, there was a bit in there somewhere. I'm trying to remember which bit it was that made me think this is probably after season 22 and before 23, because obviously when it says 86, it could sort of go either way. There was definitely a bit in there. I can't remember off the top of my head what it was now. I should have made a note.
It came out in the summer, tail end of the summer. Now, the weird thing is, the annual that comes out the year before is technically Colin's first season, because you have Twin Dilemma, and then he gets a whole annual full of stories.
Oh, wow, yes.
And then he comes back for his first
glorious
season. But this year, he's in full swing. The Doctor and Perry are the current TARDIS duo. And here we are with The Radio Waves.
Yes.
Presumably, you've never read this before.
I had never seen or read this before. I'm not even sure I'd ever heard of it. So, has it been adapted into any of those like CDs that the BBC did every now?
I should know this, but probably. But doing this run is my first real dip into all of the annuals.
Oh, okay.
Because I too I've got a load of them, which I collected as a kid. But all I ever did was flick through and look at the pictures. It was adapted, read by Dan Starkey, who I'm sure did a fantastic job.
He's a delightful man and a delightful reader of these sort of things. So yeah,
exactly.
He's a very talented man.
I'm sure he may have added a bit more charisma to the prose than possibly present here. So let's jump into this story, such as it is. It's a sort of, I'm getting bits of the Christmas invasion, obviously pre-Christmas invasion.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'm getting bits of the war machines. But
yes.
Ultimately, it's a story about the Master doing his hypnotism on the population. So how did you find it?
I mean, look, I enjoyed it well enough. I mean, I think it's the easiest adventure the Doctor's ever had, really, was my main interpretation reading it, where it's basically, this weird thing happens, and he kind of makes a succession of guesses, all of which are absolutely bang on the money straight away. And Yeah, because because the plot, for people who don't know, which is basically, I presume, everyone, is that all of these people get out of their cars and their houses and go and stand outside the Houses of Parliament for no obvious reason. And that's all the information the Doctor has. And he pretty much instantly says, well, okay, I bet it was their radios. He's right. And I think it was probably like a test run for something. He's right. To be done on the state opening of Parliament. Bang on again, Doctor. Probably via the post office tower. Yes. And I bet it's one of my old enemies involved. Is it? Yes, it is. Absolutely everything. First guess every single time. And the fact as well, given the timing of it, because he sort of drives up with the police to the post office tower. Yeah, if he'd got even one of those wrong, absolutely everything would have fallen apart because it's like literally the last second.
Yeah.
And he wanders in, a couple of guys point some guns at the Master. Master goes, oh, well, fair cop. And Master gives up so easily. Oh, there's some people with guns here. Maybe I should. He's the Master. He's got his guns. It's ridiculous. He's the one who does carry them within the universe. I mean, look, it is. I enjoyed it for what it is. It's incredibly slight, but then it's. There was a lot I quite enjoyed with it. I was looking over, thinking, I feel that the characterization of the Dr. Perry is actually reasonably spot on. I would say.
Yeah. Like they get the sort of slight dismissive nature of the Doctor towards Perry.
Yes,
that sort of bickering aspect works quite well. I like the fact that we start mid-adventure.
Yeah, that's quite fun.
The Doctor's been called by this police officer. I don't know why they wouldn't use the Brigadier or unit who, we've got a previous relationship with, but sure.
Yeah, it's just some random police inspector who is not, as far as I remember, named, has just said, do you want to come and help out with this? And the Doctor goes, yeah, sure, why not? Yeah, I do. As I say, dropping us straight in does save a lot of that. Because I know from obviously having loads of the audios that a lot of the time, one of the things that does feel like it's a bit of a struggle is how to get the Doctor and his companion to arrive on the scene anyway. Which I know feels like it shouldn't be, but you kind of want them to at least be doing something. The cold open is the trickiest part. Are they doing something in the TARDIS before the adventure starts? Have they aimed to come to this particular place for some reason? All of these things are. It's the amount of time someone will like be sending a story for script editing where you just go, yeah, the amount of these where it's just like he's got a failed holiday. Is ridiculous. You go, he can't always be trying to go on holiday and the holiday falling apart. Sometimes he's got to like be maybe going to do something, or because weirdly, like just arriving by chance is a little bit unsatisfying, even though obviously that's a lot of the early years.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a great way of sort of diving right into the middle of it. I did think, given what you said, it feels like I can't decide how familiar with Doctor Who the writer is. It's like
I don't think they're that familiar.
Yeah, because on one level, the Doctor and Perry quite well captured, but then at the same time, the format just a bit off. As I say, so as I say, could be have maybe units. Even an editor had suggested maybe unit rather than the police. Maybe the Master is a bit smarter, perhaps. Like I mean, not to put too fine a point on it. If you are going to do a dry run of your plan to attack the Houses of Parliament, maybe don't make all the people go and wander and stand in front of the Houses of Parliament. Maybe pick somewhere else. So you're not immediately flagging what your intention is. And,
I don't know why he needed the dry run, though. He's the master of hypnotism.
Yeah, he's the master. He's kind of used to doing these things. And good on him for using radio really specifically. And, it's good in .tv, I suppose, and all of these other options he could quite easily have had.
What I'm confused about is they say very specifically in the master scheme he's only done it to Londoners. But London's a big place. Somebody who's in Finchley is going to take a lot longer to walk to.
Yeah, well, that was it.
It's
I feel that the balance of this is it's presumably can't be within more than about like 5 minutes of. Actually, even having said that, I suppose realistically, if he's making it happen from the post office tower, then presumably it can only be within a small radius of that, and that's I suppose a reasonable walk from the Houses of Parliament. There's still maybe about 20, 30 minutes. Maybe, well, actually, I would say more like 30 probably, being a massive walker. I mean, that's what people shout at me in the street. So something like that, anyway.
And the police all have radios, so why didn't they get affected by this thing, I will say my other favourite bit you've lightly sort of touched on there is, this is a very weird segue, okay, that I'm gonna make. A few years ago, I read Nicholas Nickleby, okay, right. and it's very entertaining, but you can sort of tell the degree to which Dickens is writing by the minute. There's this amazing scene where Nickleby goes off to look for jobs, and he's like goes to visit a politician,
and it's clear that Dickens is just getting cross about politicians and like satirizing politicians. He gets bored of that about halfway through, and this blowhard politician starts banging on about, goes, oh, all these stupid authors who want copyright on their works, and starts going, which I'm aware from other background was a bit of a bee in Dickens's bonnet. And then it just gets to the end of this bit, and Nicholas Nickleby goes, well, you're a very stupid man, I'm not going to work for you, and leaves. And it's ridiculous. And there's a bit in this that reminded me of that. And it's this brief moment where just the Doctor basically stops the story to bemoan how the media really just focuses on London above everywhere else. He just says, oh, if it could happen anywhere else, it's just labelled the provinces. And it's just a bit like, well, thanks for that, Doctor. The degree to which this is clearly just an annoyance of the writer of the story that he just felt the urge to throw in there. I kind of love it. It also feels sort of in character for the Sixth Doctor.
There's also a thing of like an economy of prose in a way. They've got a short time to tell this story, and I'm always surprised going through these things when they'll stop the story to do something like that, or when he talks about, there's like a paragraph on the word hysteria and what it means, and it's like, what an odd, like at that point, are you just going, I just need to fill up a few more pages?
I feel it could be a word count thing. He does, which is possibly he's filled up the word count at the beginning and then runs out of pages to deal with the master at the end. I felt very early on the beginning. I'll read you that like opening paragraph.
Please
the first couple of sentences, because there's a bit goes. It began as a normal suburban morning. Washing dripped on lines in gardens, and the sounds of babies crying mingled with the whine of vacuum cleaners floated out into the street. What I kind of like with that is that's clearly someone trying to evoke imagery, but also failing at grammar. Because that's not quite English. As I say, the sounds of babies crying mingled with the whine of vacuum cleaners floated out into the street. That's I like the ambition of trying to like actually work hard on the prose, but then it's still that sense of going, no, I don't think that works.
Well, the prose style's a very weird one because, as you say, there are points where you think that the author's trying, and then there are other points where they're just clearly like, oh well, I need to get this one out by lunchtime. I've got another 15 to write today. And obviously the radio waves give away the main plot point straight away.
Yes.
And it ends on the last line is nothing out of the ordinary, just an ordinary day or something like that. And it's like, nothing out of the ordinary is such a better title than radio waves because you don't, or an ordinary day or whatever. And it's like, but again, I just don't feel like anybody's particularly trying very hard. I certainly don't think an editor has sat through this and gone, change that, or that a second draft has ever occurred.
That feels very much true, doesn't it? Yeah, it's sort of, of course, I suppose in those days, that would have required, getting out more paper and ribbon to type it out differently. And the wonder of the word processor and the iPad and the computer now is that you can very easily do a second draft in the way you never could in the past. I mean, I've always heard I think it is probably apocryphal, but the idea that Just One More Thing in Colombo came about because they ran short on the scene and they couldn't be bothered to type out the whole thing again. So I don't entirely think that's true, but it's a fun story to kind of repeat as an indication of the way these things work sometimes.
I'd be really interested to know, like, the target manuscripts, how much like redrafting and stuff those sort of things got. Because certainly when you see drafts of scripts from the 60s and 70s and stuff, and there's bits Tipp-X'd out, and you can see where things have been sort of plastered over and stuff, that's really interesting. But I suspect the person being paid to write this, and I don't know who that is because quite a lot of the time we don't know for these things, it is a staff writer who has got 10 stories a day to deliver for multiple different annuals and has no interest in revisiting them.
Yeah, so he's doing this one moment, and then it's My Little Pony the next, and then Care Bears the next. And to be honest, as I say, I think given those constraints and those constrictions, I think this is solid enough. It does what it needs to do.
Yeah,
it's got a nominal story. It's in 10 pages. I probably over ambitious for a 10-page story to have like a battle between the Master and the Doctor and all of that, and fill in the sort of the characterization. But I think it's given that it's probably by someone who doesn't really know the series at all, doing it on a tiny amount of money without the immediate access to research tools that necessarily you or I would currently have.
Yeah.
It's basically a solid job. It's not offensively bad. It's straightforward. It's fine. And given the audience it's playing to, probably basically okay. I think I'd have lapped this up as a kid if I'd actually read it in 1986.
There is something about the 80s annuals that somehow feel a little bit more on brand than some of the 70s stuff, which is really, I mean, we've done a few of them where the reference photos they've used for the art is just Tom Baker and his civvies. So that's what they use as the drawing of the Doctor in it and stuff like that. But that's just the nature of the beast. So what about the art in this particular story? How do you feel about that?
I kind of liked it. I mean, I did think one of my favorite things when I was glancing through it before I actually read the story was just seeing all of these pictures and go, I have no idea how any of these can plausibly connect.
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose there's a couple of big pictures of, the Houses of Parliament and the Post Office Tower. So it's leaning quite heavily into like reference photos, I think, isn't it? And things which there's looking through it. There's like one photo which is actually of the Doctor and Perry, one picture which is actually of the Doctor Perry, one which is the back of the Doctor in his coat, one of the Master times three, and sort of with all of them there is this sense, I would say, of not necessarily likenesses being his kind of thing. No, the Perry's not bad, I would say.
Yeah.
Perry is genuinely pretty solid.
I'd have to wonder whether the stuff of like the Royal Guard outside on the streets of London, whether that appears in any other sort of annual. And so they've gone, you've got to write a story. We've got this bit of artwork that already exists that doesn't.
Yeah, that seems very plausible to me. Yeah.
So if you could use, I mean, there's 2 pages of that. And, you know, let's be fair, kids aren't interested in 2 pages of the Queen in a carriage.
Very rarely I'd find that is something that appeals to them.
So I would wonder whether that's a request that's been made. But I mean, if you flick through the whole annual, like the Doctor and Perry, the likenesses are pretty good for the style of illustration. But it's actually, this is one of the annuals that's a little less light on monsters as well.
Oh yeah.
It's mainly the Doctor and Perry. And then obviously in this particular story, we get an image of, I would call it a generic master.
That feels a fair description of him, really. Yeah, very, very generic.
It's not Ainley, it's not Delgado, it's a man with a beard.
It's a man with a beard, and we all roughly know what that means in these terms, don't we? So it's a man with a beard. We all know who it is. We know who we're dealing with.
My favourite image in the whole annual comes at the back and the front of it, and it's just the Doctor and Perry at the TARDIS console, which is flying through the sky.
Yeah, that's amazing, yes.
But what I can't understand, again, whether the person has seen this or not, there's no bottom to the console. So does the person illustrating this think that's what the TARDIS does? They fly around on this thing.
I feel that seems very, very plausibly what they think's going on.
But do you know what? I had a fun time visiting the story. It's always nice. A lot of the times you don't get villains from the TV show in annual stories. So it's nice that the Master shows up, even if he's at his most useless. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, look, let's face it, the Master's always basically useless. That's his his pretty much his entire thing, really, isn't it? So I mean, love him, but he's not great.
Is there anything else you want to say on this story?
Nothing particularly leaps to mind, really. Yeah, I mean, I think I had a good time with it, enjoyed it. But we'll never visit it again, probably. It's not one that I'm going to save for the future and for the ages, really. No.
You're not going to pitch a sequel to for us?
It's not going to be first thing on my list. No, not really.
Fair enough. Well, look, thank you so much for joining me today on
my pleasure.
My journey through Doctor Who annual stories. If people want to find you on the internet or anything like that, where can they find you?
I think I'm something like Mr. John Dorney on Twitter, or possibly Terry's Dead now some places. I kind of lose track of what anyone does. I think I'm just relatively easy to search on most of the socials, and wanging on about Doctor Who or film. Or various other things. I also do a podcast called the Best Pick Podcast with my friends Tom and Jess, where we watched every film that won Best Picture at the Oscars, and now are covering other things semi-irregularly to varying degrees. We've just been trying to complete the BFI Sight and Sound Greatest Films of All Time top 10, and we've got 2 more of them left to do at the time of recording this. by the time this is out, we'll have done all of them. So,
amazing. Well, as said, thank you for joining me. I'll be back tomorrow with another guest and another annual story. But until then, I've been Dylan.
I've been John.
And this has been Doctor Who Too Hot for TV, the festive Advent Calendar edition. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Doctor Who, too hot for TV.
Incidentally, a happy Christmas to all of you at home.